All right, let's take a look at the details regarding Cisco Netflow. So we have flow records, exporters, monitors, and topologies. So a typical topology is that the users will make requests through their local router, like their default gateway, and from their default gateway, they can get to assets on ground, on prem, as they say, or in the cloud. So, that being said, the router then exports all of the keys. Now, keys are things like source and destination IP, things like port numbers, and things like that. So, it will export or output the various keys to something called a collector. And this necessitates that this router is in monitor mode. It's going to monitor the keys that I had just mentioned, like source, destination, IP, and port numbers, and it will also export to what they call a collector. And what is it? What is it collecting? It is trying to tell the story of everyone's, I'm going to say, connections to create, and it's trying to centralize them into what they call flow records so it can quote unquote tell a story. Now it's telling a story without the actual payload. Okay. And I'm going to clean this up when when I upload this PowerPoint here. So, in other words, the idea of a flow is that it is what it says. It's going to group packets that belong to the same quote unquote conversation. It's going to track key pieces of information, or as they call it, keys, such as source destination interfaces, and it's going to use count bytes, packets, and timestamps to tell a story. Now, in this demonstration, we're just going to be using Cisco Packet Tracer, so it's going to have a lot less of things. It's going to have a lot less touch points of information. It's going to have much less data points, but I just want to get the main point across of what NetFlow is and what it can do for us. So, how the export function works on Cisco devices? Well, we ask it to monitor the flow, we export it, and we export it to a collector. So I wanted to take a look at this more simple topology right here. So we have the router 1, R1. So connected to R1 are going to be all these hosts. So H1, host 2, which means there's probably some sort of a network switch that is connected between the host and R1. So R1 essentially is going to be accepting all of this information, and it's going to be monitored by this router right here. Let me get another color right here. It's going to be monitored by this router, and by definition, it is also exporting all of this information. And where is it exporting to? It is exporting to this collector right here. Okay. Now, all of this is just one topology, and a lot of the things that the NetFlow system or model needs are centralized in one device. So, for example, you could have a situation like this. This is actually from your textbook, in which you actually do have multiple routers right here. So basically, these would be this would represent, and we have to include this layer 2 switch, and this would represent your enterprise style network. Okay, and what happens is these are essentially generating traffic, because on this side of the routers would be all of your LANs. That could be LAN 1, that's LAN 2, and that's LAN 3. These are all computers and printers and workstations and all of that working toward generating packets, and the router is essentially generating the traffics, and then there now, what this drawing from your textbook is missing is that there has to be a designated exporter. So actually, all of these routers A, B, and C should be going to, another, should be all going into another router, and it should be a particularly beefy router. So all these routers should be going into this router, and then it's going to export into a collector, which is what this is, this collector. So this, we have an exporter here. It's going into this collector. Now we have the analysis station right here. So it's presenting the use case in which the collector and analysis station are separate. But in this particular case, the collector and analysis station are the same. And for simplicity purposes, for packet tracer, it is really the best solution. So you can peruse this PowerPoint all you want, but the main point of this is the fact that you have the packet generator, which would be R1, and it is packets are flowing naturally because of gravity, because of TCP/IP into this NF exporter. Now, this exporter is also the monitor. Okay, so this this is, we'll just say MON for monitor. It is monitoring the packets, and at the same time, it is exporting the packets to the collector. And if you double click on the collector, if this is an actual real topology in, when I say real, if this is an actual simulated topology in Packet Tracer, you could also use the collector as the quote unquote analysis station. Okay, now if you click on the analysis station, you're going to wind up with a pie chart right here, which would represent this. Now, we don't get this in Packet Tracer, but let's take a look at what it's what if this is a real if this, I was going to say Nmap, sorry about that. If this is a real Cisco Netflow situation, this would be the output that you would get. This is sample output. So we have source interface, source IP address. We have destination interface. It looks like diff. There isn't actually, there are a bunch of programs, Unix programs called diff, and it just shows two text documents next to each other and highlights their differences, which is something that is needed in case you are a programmer and can't get something going, like if you're getting these errors and you're wondering what's going on. Anyways, so this is the destination interface. This is a destination IP address. Okay, source protocol, destination protocol. We have packets and we have octets. So this is the information that that this is the story essentially that Netflow tells us, and it tells you in a very granular fashion what is going on. But another thing it gives us is it gives us like a nice pie chart of activity and a real world scenario occurred in the a social engineering movie in which the sheer amount of packets that was generated by one workstation everyone else dwarfed him, or excuse me, he generated so many packets they knew something was wrong. So anyways, this is in a nutshell Cisco Netflow.